Hi, this is Peter, and this is a short introduction to WorldShaper, which is a 2D, 3D map, terrain, painting generation program, which you can use to make maps primarily for video games and also other things if you want. So in this video, I'll show you how you create your terrain by painting it, how it looks in 3D, and how to export into a Godot project. So you can use your open world maps in Godot with a plugin that I've developed that's for Godot. So let's go ahead and create a new project. So we'll do 500 by 500. I'll do 10 zones and a resolution of 500 as well. Maybe our height range will be 50 meters for this, and we'll create that. And this is what it looks like. It's dynamically sort of unloading and loading the zones as you travel along using the WASD keys. And on the left you have the brush settings tools. Let's go ahead and use the blend tool. I find like that's the most important one for quickly creating things combined with the noise. And if you hover over this, they'll tell you what these values actually mean if you're curious. But you know, it's actually just a simplex noise that's built into Godot. So, alright, I think that's might be good. Maybe a little smaller actually, 20. And I'll bring down the size. There we go. So I'll just create sort of like an island here. That's basically what I'm gonna do. And I will try to not use too much time on this. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's the performance issue is something I'm working on large maps. Even here, just painting, as you can see, the performance is not great, but it's usable, especially with just clicking, which is what I find that I tend to use. What I tend to do most is just clicking, and yeah. So okay, I think that looks good. Let's maybe just add some nice features here. Let's do the smooth tool is pretty nice, which was added in the last update, which just averages out. Well, it linearly interpolates to the average height of where you click. So just smooth out the edge here. Try not to make too much time with this, and maybe we'll have some. Maybe this thing here is going to be a pretty small, kind of just a beach, literally just a beach, and then that's way too much actually. That's also way too much. Okay. Alright, I'll stop there. And also maybe let's smooth out. Let's do a small one. Let's make a kind of like a terrace, like a flat area around here. Something like that. So the smooth tool is pretty powerful. I didn't add the smooth tool until kind of late, so finally it's there. Okay, so that's our terrain. Well, it's a kind of large terrain. We didn't really use that much of it, but anyway, that's our terrain. Let's go ahead and preview this, and yeah, that's our terrain. This is looking a little bit weird. We actually have the edge of the brush going around here like a circle, but anyway, it's okay for our little test. Okay, so let's go ahead and export this into Godot. Oh, by the way, you can see on the right here, you can have smooth shading if you want, and texture filtering as well. Although the texture filtering does not have this sort of texture bleeding thingy. So it's trying to blend between the edge of the... Oh, that's interesting. It's not editing everything. Okay, weird. Well, anyway, it's a work in progress, so I'll just do everything, all this off for now, and we'll get this low poly look instead. So, if you're curious about what it looks like when you save, let's go ahead and... Oh, can't do that, we have to save as. And I'll call it screencast. And I'll call that screencast, like so. And if you're curious about what the files look like, what it saves is this. So each zone gets saved the height and the color. So here's an example of zone 33. That's the color of zone 33, and then you have the height as well as just ping files or PNGs. So you can do whatever you want with this. And also the location of where the files are is actually saved in the what Godot calls its user directory, which is different depending on your operating system. So to get the location, take a look at the itch page. It'll tell you where it's actually located, so you know that. Anyway, now that we have saved this and have a terrain, let's try to export this into Godot. So click export, and there's nothing here in the 2D yet. I will have to get to work on that someday. But for now, we do have the 3D, so you need to select the path to the project root. So that's the directory. Let's go here, projects. I have one here called WorldShaper Screencast 1, and I need to select the root of the Godot project, which is where you have the project.godot file. So I'll select that there, and of course you may want to actually import your terrain into a subfolder, and I will do that. So you'll put that in this second box here, and I don't think it's creating the directory, so I think I have to create it. So I'll just go in here for now, and I'll call this WorldShaper import. Okay, and WorldShaper import, and hopefully this will work. So export. Let's look at the console. Yeah, so it's creating all of the zones. For each zone, it's exporting out the color. It's actually exporting the color and the height, but it's not using the height for now. It's just using the color. And of course, it's generating the mesh. I'm not sure why it's generating the mesh, because it should have been already there, loaded in the editor. But anyway, it should be available now. In fact, if we open up this and go into our WorldShaper import folder, see that we have lots of stuff here. This is our world. So you have, let's go ahead and open the project here. So this is the WorldShaper Screencast 1. This is my game here where I imported. There you go. So I have the WorldShaper import here, all my stuff there. And of course, you do need an add-on, which is available. Hopefully, after I upload this video, this should be available on itch, so you can download this. So yeah, here it is. It's the WorldShaper add-on for Godot. So this will need to be enabled. So let's go ahead and do that. Go to project settings. Wow, okay, so it's already enabled. That's good. Okay, and once that's enabled, you have access to all the things you need to make this work. So yeah, so the way this works is the following. What you need to do is create one scene. Let's create a new scene. Actually, you can just do that here. I'll have a 3D scene, and I will just call this, I'll have a root node called open world. I'll call this open world, and I will save that into open world.tscene in the root of my project. And then what I need to do is I need to add this world here. I need to instance that inside here, and I think I can just grab this, put this inside here, and now it's instance in here. Now that's not enough. You actually need to do a few more steps. There's a few things involved here due to some hacky things that I needed to do to get this to properly work in the editor as well as in the game. And what you need is, if you click on the Zone Terrain Manager here, you see it's got our data here from our project, sizes and resolutions and everything like that, as well as the import path, which is WorldShaper import, which is here. That way it knows how to get the zones. Then it has a player node path, which I'll get to later. It's got a start on ready, which basically means it will call its start method once the ready method is called, so it will start automatically. If you want to start at a later date or a later time, you can turn that off, and then you have to just call the start method on this instance, on this object. So we'll leave that on. But the important thing is, in the editor, we have this WorldShaper editor location node path. So it's asking for a node path to a WorldShaper editor location node, which we don't have, and we need to add that. So let's go here. In our open world root, we'll add an object. It should be available right under here. Here, WorldShaper editor location. Go ahead and create that. And what this is doing, like I said, it's kind of a hacky thing. What it's doing is taking the location of the editor camera, and it's storing that in this object. That's all it does, and you kind of need to have this object there to get this to work. So now we can go here to our Zone Terrain Manager and assign that. So choose that, and that should work. You may need to restart the scene though to get this to work after you do this. Yep, I think you need to do that. So let's close this now and just open it again. And there you go. You can see that it's already loading terrain. And as we move, the editor location object here is listening for the editor's camera and updating the Zone Terrain Manager based on that. And currently I think it's working fairly well, although it's not perfect. There's actually some bugs with the loading here. See, if you load things a little too fast, it's forgetting to unload things. So it's kind of desynchronizing, and that has to do with the fact that I'm doing multi-threading. And I have a lot of errors here, which I have no idea what these are, but anyway, ignore that. Just pray for the best. Yeah, so our terrain is now loading and unloading dynamically in the editor, and it's not going to work in the game though. For the game, it's slightly different. That's going back to this player node path here, which is simply just assign this to wherever your player is, so, or the camera or wherever. So it's just going to grab the location of whatever node you put here and update the terrain based on that. So just put your player here and it should work. Yeah, it should work. So anyway, there you go. That's your terrain working in the Godot editor. Although one thing, in case you notice, we do have a problem here. Again, the texture filtering is failing because we don't have the texture bleeding feature, which I haven't implemented, and that's because all of the color maps for all the zones are imported. Go here with filter on, so I'll just go ahead and search for color, and I will select everything in here. Select the first one and just shift click the last one, and I'll turn off filtering and re-import, and that should take care of that problem. And of course, this is a work in progress. I will eventually get to implementing a way for you to actually have linear filtering on your color maps if you want to do that. And that is kind of weird. I'm not sure what's going on here. I have no idea why it's doing that. The terrain is completely offset. The texture is completely wrong. that has to do, that has to be, is it, so it's all good there. That's very strange. Hopefully, if we restart this, might it work? Nope. Okay, I honestly have no idea what this is about, why it's doing that. Might be something to do with I can't tell. I really can't tell what the problem is there. Let me go ahead and export this again. Might have been a desync problem. Okay, apparently it's working now. So there's some problems in the editor where it's not syncing the 3D mesh properly, so I'll have to get to work on that. But yeah, it seems to be working now, so yep. Okay, I'll show you one last thing which I did implement, which is for open world games you do need a way to unload and unload other things beyond just the terrain. And I did implement a simple system for that, so that's in add-ons here, in object loading. So I added a way to place object as placeholders. Now, if we have an object, let's go ahead and create one actually. Let's do a new scene, 3D scene, and actually let's undo that, let's do another node. Do a CG mesh, let's do a CG box, I guess. Well, anyway, I'll just do this box here. I just have this object here, I'll call that for box. Box, we have a box, and then if we want to place this in our world, let's go place it all the way in the air and over in place. But so yeah, as you know, if we place this object here, and there's a problem with the terrain loading, that's wonderful. Somehow that's not working now. Well, as you can tell, it's a work in progress. It's not recommended to use this. I do have an idea of what this problem is. I'm pretty sure I know. I'm very curious what this is here, down there. There's something there. I have no idea what that is. It can't be the terrain, but the terrain is never placed anywhere at all. It's just always placed at 0. So I'm very curious. Okay, let's close this and open it again. Okay, there we go. It's working now. Okay, so I will get to work on actually fixing a lot of these bugs, but okay, so if you have an object, right, and if you imagine having a giant world, you know, something on the scale of you know, one of the big open world games like Skyrim or Zelda games or anything like that, you can't just have all your objects placed like this. It's just going to take way too much memory, and you're never going to be able to load, or rather you will be able to load if you have a really insane amount of RAM, I suppose, but it's not going to work. So you need to have placeholders. Now, apparently, Godot has a built-in placeholder thing. So you can right-click any scene or any node actually. Not a node. It has to be a scene, obviously. Yeah. So any instance scene, you can toggle on load as placeholder. What that's going to do is you can call this and call replace by instance, but it's not very useful because it doesn't actually have a location. It doesn't have a transform when it's not loaded. So we don't know exactly where it is until you've actually loaded it, so it's kind of useless. And it's also, it didn't really work that well for me. So I implemented my own system. So instead, let's go ahead and remove this. We're not going to use that at all. What we will do is we'll add, go up here, and we'll add under spatial the WS, the WorldShaper placeholder. And here we have a placeholder, and it takes a scene path. So path to a scene, and that's going to be our box here. And when you select the file, it's going to only look for tscene files, right? So we'll grab that, and here we have our, well, it's placed in a weird way, it's all over there. I suppose we can move it to some sensible location on the map here. Something like there. And it's currently invisible, I'm aware of that, but we'll get to that. So we have our object here, and then we need to have some object that can fly around and detect whether to load or unload something, right? And the same thing with, it's kind of like this one, but we'll go ahead and add a different node, the editor object loader. So we'll create that and get a bunch of errors because we haven't set, yeah, that's going to continue forever. Okay, I need to fix that. Anyway, once you have the editor object loader here, this one is also going to use the editor location node. So we'll give it that. Here, there we go. And it should be happy now, hopefully. And apparently it's not. I have no idea why this is not working. Oh. Why is that null? Why is that null? I'm just going to very quickly take a look at this in the code. Yeah, it's just getting it on the... Okay, let's just close this and open it again. And I think it might work. There we go. Okay, so our object loaded. Okay, so there's some problems there with the state management of whether objects are set or not or whatever. So I'll have to take a look at that. But now the editor object loader is working, so I'm gonna lock this. Don't need to move that. Same with this. Should probably do that. Lock things that don't never need to move. This one does need to move. Here we have our object. It's currently loaded because the editor object loader is getting the location from the camera here, and it's loading because we're pretty close to it. So if we move away, it should some point, or maybe not. Maybe set the radius a little bit lower. Maybe it'll work now. There we go. So now, as you can see, it's loading and unloading based on our movement. And it's trying to do so in a fairly intelligent way. And you can just change the radius here. And also you can choose to have ignore height on or off. You may want to turn this off. It's on by default, but if you have a very sort of big map that's using a lot of height. Like you can go, really up a mountain, or you can just go inside the mountain, or you can go underground. And you definitely want to turn that off, because if it's not going to, if it's ignoring the height, it's just going to, take an infinite square. Or actually, it's not, it's a radius, so it's a cylinder. So the area that you load will be an infinitely tall cylinder of radius, this radius here. And if you turn that on, then it's going to be a sphere. If you turn it off, it'll be a sphere, the loading radius. Also, the loading is actually done based on your movement. So when you move a fraction of the radius, I believe it's 1/3 of the radius, it's going to update again. So that way, it tries to not do too much updating needlessly, right? So it tries to be sort of smart about it. But the rest of the stuff is not very smart. It's actually really stupid because of all the bugs. So I'll have to really fix all of that. But I'm happy we got through all of this in this episode. This is my third time trying to record this, so hopefully it's not too long. It is a bit involved getting this set up properly. You know. And anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And go ahead and download this. It's available. Should be a link in the description to the itch.io page. So you can go there and download the actual editor, and I will hopefully upload the actual add-on for Godot as soon as I can. Although I really want to fix a lot of these bugs. So anyway, that's sort of introduction to how it works. So yeah, enjoy.